Pandemic Pet Pals. Exploring the complex relationship between pet ownership, stress, and loneliness during lockdown. Pandemic Pet Pals. Exploring the complex relationship between pet ownership, stress, and loneliness during lockdown. You're listening to Technical News Reading, presented by Hakeem Alibokis Alexander on Wisdom, Social Podcasting, and Spreaker, Social Audio Inc., or rather it's Wisdom Social Audio Inc. and Spreaker Social Podcasting. Today's reading focus comes to us from neurosciencenews.com and is titled Pandemic Pet Pals: Exploring the Complex Relationship Between Pet Ownership, Stress, and Loneliness During Lockdown. It was published under the categories of neuroscience, open neuroscience articles, and psychology. Published on April 26, 2023. That's today, the time of the reading. Summary. During the COVID-19 pandemic, U.S. dog and cat owners became closer to their pets. Though pet ownership did not consistently alleviate stress and loneliness, the relationship between mental health and pet ownership was complex, with dog owners experiencing a greater reduction in stress and loneliness compared to cat owners and non-pet owners. Key facts. 1. During the COVID-19 pandemic, both dog and cat owners in the U.S. grew closer to their pets. 2. Dog owners experienced a greater reduction in stress and loneliness during the reopening and recovery periods compared to cat owners and non-pet owners. 3. Pet ownership did not consistently mitigate stress and loneliness during the pandemic, but pet owners reported less loneliness specifically related to romantic relationships compared to non-pet owners. Source: PLOS. A new analysis suggests that during the COVID-19 pandemic, U.S. dog and cat owners became closer to their pets, and a complex relationship unfolded between pet ownership, stress, and loneliness. Niwako Ogata and Sin-Yi Wang of Purdue University, U.S., and their colleague present these findings in the open access journal PLOS-ONE on April 26, 2023. The COVID-19 pandemic provides a unique setting to explore pet owner relationships and potential links between pet ownership and mental health. Several prior studies have investigated these topics in the context of the pandemic, but with limited scope. Ogata and Wang conducted a series of surveys to capture the dynamics of dog and cat ownership in the USA prior to the pandemic, during the lockdown period of April to June 2020, the reopening of September to December 2020, and a recovery period from January to December 2021. The surveys included questions related to participants' closeness to the pet they felt most attached to, stress and loneliness levels, demographics, housing situation, personality, and other potentially relevant factors. Participants included 1,266 people with dogs and cats, 1,186 with only dogs, 1,128 with only cats, and 657 with no pets. Statistical analysis of the survey responses showed that both dog and cat owners grew closer to their pets during the study period. However, links between pet ownership and mental health were more complex. Compared to cat owners and participants without pets, dog owners experienced greater reduction of stress and loneliness during the reopening and recovery periods. Nonetheless, the researchers did not find statistically sound evidence that pet ownership eased participants' stress and loneliness levels during the pandemic, and cat owners generally had more stress and loneliness than other participants. However, separating out different types of loneliness showed that, compared to non-pet owners, pet owners reported less loneliness, specifically related to romantic relationships. Further analysis suggests that the different results seen for dog versus cat owners may be explained by differences in the pet-owner relationship between these two groups. The researchers will continue collecting similar data through 2023 in order to capture any further changes in pet-owner relationships, stress, and loneliness. The authors add, people felt closer toward their pets during the COVID-19 pandemic, even though the pet ownership did not mitigate stress and loneliness. Dog ownership and cat ownership acted differently on mental health, but the difference between them could be partially explained away by the owner-pet relationship. Funding. This study, in whole, is funded by the Morris Animal Foundation, grant number D22FE041, received by HYW URL of the founder, website morrisanimalfoundation.org. The funder had no role in study design, data collection and analysis, decision to publish, or preparation of the manuscript. About this stress and mental health research news. Author, Hannah Abdallah. Source, PLOS. The original research is under open access and is titled Temporal Patterns of Owner-Pet Relationship, Stress, and Loneliness During the COVID-19 Pandemic, and the Effect of Pet Ownership on Mental Health. A longitudinal survey by Sin E. Wong and others. PLOS 1. You've been listening to Technical News Reading, presented by Hakeem Ali Bokus Alexander on Spreaker, Social Podcasting, Call-In, Social Podcasting, and Wisdom, Social Audio Inc., presented for World Reading Club in association with Uniquilibrium. Neuroscience News continues with an abstract from the paper titled Temporal Patterns of Owner-Pet Relationship, Stress, and Loneliness During the COVID-19 Pandemic, and the Effect of Pet Ownership on Mental Health, a longitudinal survey. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected us in numerous ways and may consequently impact our relationships with pet dogs and cats. We conducted a longitudinal survey to examine the temporal patterns of owner-pet relationship, stress, and loneliness during 4 phases of the pandemic. 1. Pre-pandemic, February 2020. Lockdown, April to June 2020. Reopening, September to December 2020. And 4. Recovery, January 2021 to December 2021. We also investigated the effect of pet ownership on stress and loneliness by considering a set of a priori causal assumptions. In addition, we hypothesized that the differences in the levels of stress and loneliness between dog and cat ownerships were mediated by the pet or the owner-pet relationship. So in addition, we hypothesized that the differences in the levels of stress and loneliness between dog and cat ownerships were mediated by the owner-pet relationship. A total of 4,237 participants, 657 non-pet owners, 1,761 dog owners, and 1,819 cat owners completed between 1 and 6 surveys. Overall, the closeness in the relationship between owners and their pets increased with time during the study period. We also observed that dog owners consistently showed larger decreases in the levels of stress and loneliness than cat and non-pet owners. However, after adjusting for confounders, the findings did not support a mitigating effect of pet ownership. Pet ownership did not alleviate stress, social loneliness resulting from a lack of friendships or workplace relationships, or emotional loneliness due to deficiencies in family relationships. Pet owners, however, reported a lower degree of emotional loneliness caused by deficits in romantic relationships than non-pet owners. Our results also indicated that the differences in stress and loneliness levels between dog and cat ownerships were partially explained by the owner-pet relationship, and once this was accounted for, the differences between them reduced. In summary, this study highlights the dynamic effects of COVID-19 on owner-pet relationship and mental health. It also shows the complexity of the association between pet ownership and mental health, partially mediated by owner-pet relationships. NeuroscienceNews.com asks that you join our newsletter. Sign up to receive our recent neuroscience headlines and summaries sent to your email once a day, totally free. We hate spam and only use your email to contact you about newsletters. You can cancel your subscription anytime. Neuroscience News posts science research news from labs, universities, hospitals, and news departments around the world. Science articles can cover neuroscience, psychology, AI, robotics, neurology, brain cancer, mental health, machine learning, autism, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, brain research, depression, and other topics related to cognitive sciences. You've been listening to Technical News Reading, presented by Hakeem Ali Bokus Alexander on Spreaker, Social Podcasting, Call-In, Social Podcasting, and Wisdom, Social Audio Inc. This edition's reading focus has come to us from neurosciencenews.com. You can read this article and others for yourself by visiting neurosciencenews.com. That's neurosciencenews.com. Neurosciencenews.com. Pandemic Pet Pals, exploring the complex relationship between pet ownership, stress, and loneliness during lockdown. It was published on April 26, 2023.